Hello, America. JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, a Palestinian Columbia University student just got sprung from ICE custody and immediately fired shots at President Trump. Verbally, of course. We'll break down what happened and why a judge compared this moment to McCarthy-era politics. Then, Trump celebrating his first 100 days back in office with a rowdy Michigan rally, declaring it the most successful first 100 days in American history. But hold up. We've also got fresh GDP numbers showing the economy actually shrinking last quarter, with the president pointing fingers at Biden's overhang while defending those controversial tariffs. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome to America's fastest growing daily news rundown, designed specifically for your commute, run, or coffee time. Stick around for all this and more in your daily dose of unfiltered news and common sense commentary. This is Ranting Politics Headline Updates. Well, freedom comes with a mic drop moment. Mohsen Mahdawi, the 34-year-old Palestinian Columbia University student who was detained by ICE earlier this month, is now a free man, and he's not staying quiet about it. According to the New York Post, Mahdawi was released yesterday following U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Crawford's orders, with the judge stating he didn't believe Mahdawi posed any risk to the public or was a flight risk. What's particularly interesting here is that Mahdawi has been a legal permanent resident for a decade and was actually arrested during an interview about finalizing his U.S. citizenship. Talk about timing. The moment he stepped outside that Vermont courtroom, Mahdawi didn't mince words. Quote, "I am saying it clear and loud to President Trump and his cabinet. I am not afraid of you." Fighting words from someone who just experienced the full weight of government detention. What makes this case politically explosive is how Judge Crawford framed it. He compared the current wave of migrant detentions to McCarthy-era politics and the Red Scare of the 1950s. That's not exactly a flattering historical parallel for the administration. The State Department, for their part, is sticking to their guns. They claim Mahdawi is removable under immigration law, with Secretary Rubio arguing his presence would have serious adverse foreign policy consequences and compromise a compelling U.S. foreign policy interest. Strong words from the Secretary of State. The heart of the government's case? They accuse Mahdawi of engaging in threatening rhetoric and intimidation against Jewish students during protests at Columbia. Mahdawi's legal team flips the script, claiming he was detained as retaliation for leading those anti-Israel protests on campus. Under the judge's orders, Mahdawi gets to keep his permanent resident status, return to New York City, continue his education, and graduate from Columbia. Not exactly the outcome the administration was likely hoping for. For context, Mahdawi wasn't just any student protester. He was co-president of Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine, which helped lead those campus protests against the Gaza war. The group has since been suspended by the university. Outside the courthouse, Mahdawi led Free Palestine chants and called on people to defend free speech, telling supporters, "Never give up on the idea that justice will prevail. We want to stand up for humanity because the rest of the world, not only Palestine, is watching us." This case sits at the intersection of immigration policy, free speech, campus protests, and foreign policy interests. A perfect political storm that's unlikely to quiet down anytime soon. The administration now faces a judicial rebuke at a time when their immigration enforcement initiatives have been one of their higher polling achievements. We ain't seen nothing yet. That was the battle cry from President Trump at his fired-up Michigan rally Tuesday night, where he celebrated the first 100 days of his second term with characteristic bravado. The commander-in-chief didn't hold back, folks, telling the crowd of roughly 4,000 supporters that his administration has accomplished more in 3 months than most administrations accomplish in 4 years or even 8 years. And he made sure everyone knew this is just the appetizer. Believe me, we're just getting started, Trump emphasized to thunderous applause at the Macomb Sports and Expo Center in Warren, Michigan. Immigration took center stage during his 90-minute speech, with Trump declaring, "Under President Trump, America is a dumping ground for criminals no longer." He even unveiled what the New York Post described as a dramatic video showing deported gang members arriving at El Salvador's notorious hellhole mega prison, which reportedly had the crowd absolutely eating it up. Despite some bruising poll numbers lately, immigration remains Trump's strongest issue with voters, with approval hovering around 50% on his handling of the border. I banned all welfare to illegals, and I signed an order that will end automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. No citizenship, he touted to Cheers. Taking direct aim at his predecessor, Trump claimed, "For years, Joe Biden and the media told us that stopping the flood of illegal immigration was absolutely impossible. He said it was impossible. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about. It turned out that all we needed was a new president." The setting itself looked like something straight out of a campaign rally rather than a presidential address, with walls plastered with gigantic signs proclaiming jobs, 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 the golden age, buy American, hire American, investing in America, and the American dream is back. Trump zeroed in on Michigan's auto industry, promising the Heartland audience that a lot of auto jobs are coming back to the state. They all want to come back to Michigan to build cars again because of our tax and tariff policy, he claimed, positioning himself as the champion of American manufacturing against globalist policies. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, Trump proclaimed. And instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first and putting America first. The president brought several administration officials on stage during the event, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and top advisor Margot Martin, who got the crowd buzzing by teasing, "Trump 2028, anybody?" Conservative CNN analyst Scott Jennings also made an appearance, joking that, "I gotta get a farm in Michigan, because when you own as many libs as I do, you gotta get a place to put them all." Looking ahead, Trump promised his one big beautiful bill, which House Speaker Mike Johnson hopes to pass by July 4th, would deliver the largest tax cuts in American history. And that will include no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He also doubled down on outgoing Doge chief Elon Musk's pledge to cut more than $1 trillion in wasteful and unnecessary spending. In classic Trump fashion, he wrapped up with big promises. "We're going to have something that you won't even believe." Well, the economic honeymoon appears to be over for the second Trump administration, folks. New data released yesterday shows the U.S. economy contracted at a 0.3% annualized pace in the first quarter of 2025. This marks the first quarter of negative growth since early 2022, and it sent markets tumbling. President Trump wasted no time responding on Truth Social, writing, "This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. I didn't take over until January 20th. The president went on to defend his tariff policies, claiming they'll soon kick in and that companies are already moving into the USA in record numbers. Trump urged patience, writing in all caps that the economic issues have nothing to do with tariffs, and promised that when the boom begins, it will be like no other. But here's where things get interesting. According to the Commerce Department report, a major factor in the GDP decline was actually a surge in imports, with companies rushing to stock up ahead of Trump's promised tariffs. Another contributor was reduced government spending, particularly in defense. This attempt to distance himself from economic troubles stands in stark contrast to Trump's position just a few months ago. Back in January, when markets were soaring during Biden's final days in office, candidate Trump declared on social media, "This is the Trump stock market because my polls against Biden are so good that investors are projecting that I will win." Economic experts are also challenging Trump's inflation claims. Just yesterday at his Michigan rally, Trump boasted that prices are coming way down and took credit for it. However, the same GDP report showed the Fed's preferred inflation measure actually jumped to 3.6% in Q1, up significantly from 2.4% in the previous quarter. Meanwhile, a separate report released yesterday showed private payrolls increased by just 62,000 in April, less than half of what economists expected, and the smallest gain since July 2024. Many analysts are pointing directly to uncertainty surrounding Trump's tariff policies as the cause for both the employment slowdown and plummeting consumer confidence. Former Biden White House spokesman Andrew Bates didn't mince words, saying Trump inherited the best performing economy in the world that was leaving other wealthy nations in the dust, and that now we're plummeting toward a Trump session. The economic data couldn't come at a worse time for the president, who's scheduled to meet with more than 24 business leaders at the White House today. It'll be fascinating to see how the administration navigates this messaging challenge, taking credit for good news while deflecting blame for troubling indicators, as we move deeper into Trump's second term. Well, that's all we've got time for today, folks. From a Palestinian Columbia student sending a defiant message to Trump after being freed from ICE custody, to the president's victory lap at his Michigan 100-day rally, and finally those concerning GDP numbers showing economic contraction. It's clear the second Trump term is already delivering plenty of drama. The intersection of immigration enforcement, presidential promises, and economic reality will continue to define this administration in the months ahead. As we've seen today, the rhetoric often doesn't match the numbers, and the finger-pointing game is already in full swing less than 4 months in. Thanks for tuning in to Ranting Politics Headline Updates. If you enjoyed today's rundown, make sure to follow us on X at RantingRP. You can also catch us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and on the web at rantingpolitics.com. This is JOC, signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics Headline Updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Remember, we don't align with a political party. We align with you, the American citizen. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.